Exercise 21. The problems we have to face in world affairs at the present moment bear a great deal of relation to the conflicts that are going on. We have stated repeatedly that our foreign policy is one of keeping aloof countries and not becoming entangled in any alliances, military or other, that might drag us into any possible conflict that does not, on the other hand, involve any lack of close relationships with other countries. The House will remember that some time back I mentioned the question of India's possible relationships with the Commonwealth, and I informed the House of the broad lines of our approach to this problem, and I gathered that the House agreed to it. Subsequently, the question, as considered by the National Congress at its Jaipur session, and its broad lines, they also laid down the policy to be pursued. As far as we are concerned, we propose strictly to adhere to those directions. Of course, changing circumstances have to be understood and interpreted in different ways. But the broad lines of our policy have been laid down, and that India will naturally and inevitably, in the course of a few months, become an independent republic, and in our external, internal, or domestic policy, political policy, or in our economic policy, we do not propose to accept anything that involves in the slightest degree dependence on any other authority. Subject to other, we are prepared to associate ourselves with other countries in a friendly way. We are associated today in the United Nations with a great number of countries in the world. Anything else that we might do will naturally have to be something that does not go against our association with the United Nations. It is only in terms of independent nations cooperating together that we can consider the problem of our association with the Commonwealth. There may be, as some people have suggested, alliances with this or that nations. Alliances usually involve military and other commitments, and they are more binding. Other forms of association which do not bind in this manner but which help in bringing together nations for the purpose of consolidation where necessary, of cooperation, are therefore far more desirable than any form of alliance which does bind and will help us to achieve our main target. Para. Recently, there was a conference on Indonesia held at India's instance in New Delhi, and many countries from Asia attended it, besides Egypt, Ethiopia, Australia, and New Zealand. The conference forcibly brought several matters before the world's eye, and one of the resolutions passed at the conference was that we should explore methods of close cooperation. We are pursuing that line of inquiry, and perhaps in the course of a month or two, or perhaps more, we may have some more definite results to consider. Possibly, we might have another conference to consider the possible lines of cooperation. Again, that cooperation can only be the cooperation of independent nations without the least commitment of one to the other, but it is a fact that there are so many matters in common between us that it is helpful for us to cooperate with one another. We have not yet decided what the region of cooperation might be because India is interested in several regions in Asia, whether all should be grouped together or separately. I do not know. That is for us to consider together and to decide what is more feasible. But in any event, two facts have to be borne in mind. One is that whatever structure of cooperation we may build up will be entirely within the scope of the Charter of the United Nations. Secondly, there will be no binding covenant in it, and this will largely be an organization for the consultation and cooperation that naturally flow from common interests. Para. So, our policy will continue to be not only to keep aloof from power alignments but try to make friendly cooperation possible. Fortunately, we enter upon our independence as a country with no hostile background in regard to any country. We are friendly to all countries. Our hostility during the last 200 years was mainly directed towards the dominating power here, and because of India's independence, that hostility has largely vanished, though it may survive in few people's minds. So we approach the whole world on a friendly basis, and there is no reason why we should put ourselves at a disadvantage, if I may say so, by becoming unfriendly to any group. I think that India has a vital role to play in world affairs. The various ideologies that confront the world today, the various isms which threaten conflict repeatedly, may have a great deal, I think, to commend themselves, but all of them have been derived, if I may say so, from the background of Europe. Well, the background of Europe and Asia is not something apart from the background of the world.